Hey brothers and sisters, Francis Santaros here, just coming on with the word. I got chastised this morning from my father. It was really kind of sweet. It was cool. I came on into that testimony video, and God is so sweet. He's so awesome that just when you think things couldn't get any worse. No, that's wrong. I started that wrong. Just when you think that things are like really bad, he just has a way of turning stuff around. I don't know about y'all, but he just gives me a new outlook on stuff. Every trial that I go through is just an opportunity to grow. I mean, it really is. I've learned so much in just the last 2 weeks. Learned a lot about myself, certainly. So, yesterday I was talking about how I didn't think I was going to be doing a whole lot of videos because I pretty much taught on everything I was going to teach on. And this morning, I woke up and I heard, really? You think you've taught on everything that there is to teach, huh? Oh, it was humbling. I felt about that big. Yeah, the Bible's pretty vast. There's probably a whole lot of stuff that I haven't taught on. And I pled my defense, and I said, but Lord, really, it's all the stuff that we kind of need to know for this end time, right? Sorry about that. And it was just kind of funny. It was kind of funny. I had a chuckle. He's really sweet to me. I'm not perfect by any means, but I really try hard. I want to do the right thing. You know, that's the thing. I want to do the right thing, and I want to make it right. Whatever it is that I did wrong, I want to make it right. And I learn. I don't want to make the same mistakes over and over. You know what they say? The definition of an insane person is a person that does the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. And I really don't want to be labeled as insane. So, ow, my ear is just sorry. Ah, it's a running joke. Anywho, so I was going to do a study in Psalm 91, and I had a friend that I was reading and praying with and stuff like that, and we did this together, and I never did it for YouTube, and I kind of felt the Lord telling me, hey, remember that lesson I gave you in Psalm 91? Let's do it. So here we go. Psalm 91 is just a great psalm. And I always looked at Psalm 91 as an end-of-time psalm. You know, it's really pretty much for all time. But the stuff that we're going to be going through, if you kind of look at it, it really looks like the beast system rising and Christians running for their life, having to stand on words, you know, the word to stand on for protection and deliverance. And, you know, and there's just a lot of it in this psalm. I mean, it talks about it. But God showed me something really interesting today that I hadn't seen. I just hadn't seen. And any of you parents out there, now I am aware that there are some teenagers that are watching my channel, which is kind of cool. I used to be a youth minister, so I kind of know how to relate to youth. At least I think so. I like to think I did, and because I did it for the longest time. And he showed me something interesting that I hadn't seen before. And it goes like this. Any of you people that have had children, you know that they're all different. You know, they're just you could, if you have, like my kids are, I have 3 children, and my oldest child was just the most polite, the most respectful, the most obedient. You could give him a couple of Matchbox cars, and he'd go sit in a corner and entertain himself all night long. And every now and then he'd come up to you and tug on you and go, I'm hungry, or I'm thirsty. you know, he's just so easy. He was the easiest kid in the world. And my middle child was, you know, he was difficult. He required all your attention all the time, constantly, and he was into everything. If you didn't watch him constantly, you know, you were in trouble. he was going to get into something. I used to call him the rascal. And then my daughter had a blend of the two, but she really is just such a good girl. She just does the right thing. She does require a bit of attention, you know, like my middle child, but she's so good. So anyways, they're all a little bit different. And didn't mean to go off all into that. But what he showed me was, you know how you have children that are, you can teach them stuff, like you're teaching them how to tie their shoes, and they will let you do it, and they actually will come up and ask you to do it again, probably longer than they should, because you know that they know actually how to do it, but they want you to do it for them, and you'll do it for them because, you know, you're a sweet parent. I remember my daughter called me not that long ago, and she asked me, she said, will you bring me lunch? And I said, you know, she went to work and she forgot to pack her lunch, which was right there in the fridge, and she wanted me to do it and bring it up to her, which all she had to do was do it and bring it with her. But she just ran out of the house, never did it, knowing that she could call me and I would do it. And I'm like, you know, and I was actually talking to somebody on the phone at the time, and I was like feigning frustration, because I love my daughter. She's such a good girl. I'm going to do stuff like that for her. And I'm like, oh, my daughter, she's so frustrating. She expects me to make her lunch and bring it up to her, and I'm going to do it. You know why? Because I'm a good dad. That's pretty much it. I'm just a good dad. Only I never got that part out. My mind switched and I went off to somewhere else. Anywho, some kids just will let you and want you to do stuff for them all the time. They kind of act like they're helpless when you know they're not. And I don't know what it is. I think they just like your attention. They want your attention. If they're attention starved, you know they can do it. They know they can do it, but they want you to do it for them because they want your attention, and that's okay. And then other kids, you got other kids that are like, I want to do it. No, let me do it. They won't let you do it. And you know they're not really there yet. They don't, maybe they don't have the motor skills to do it, but they want to be able to do it. It's in their personality to do stuff by their own. No, me mommy, let me do it. I do. You know what I'm talking about? So you got these two different types of kids, and I saw this going on in the Word. Almost like God understands these two personalities and made provision for both, because you know the word is the word. The word never goes out of style. It's you know, the law is outdated, but not the word. He upholds his word even above his own name. So what if you're the type of person that isn't that I want to do it, I want to take authority, I want to do that? What if you're the personality that, you know, wants to be, needs to be kind of taken care of? I mean, those people are out there, aren't they? Yeah, they are. And what if God made a special provision for them? Well, I kind of saw something like this. And then there's those that want to be the leaders. They want to do it. They want to be an authority. People are made all different ways, and I kind of saw that too. And I just wanted to share it with y'all. And it goes like this. I'm in Psalm 91, and it goes like this. It says, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress." Now remember that verse with that parable I was talking about, where Jesus is given the parable of the talents, and the one guy that He gave 1 talent to said, "I knew you were a harsh man. I knew you reaped where you did not sow." And God was like, "Really? That's what you think of me? By your words you'll be judged. You think I'm a harsh man? I reap where I did not sow? That's what's going to happen to you." All right? So I saw confession here. He's talking about his Father the way He wants him to be, the way he's excited about his Father. Listen to this. "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of my Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress." So he is making this confession. Hey, you're my refuge, Father. And the Father's saying, okay, I'm your refuge. I'm your refuge. You say I'm your refuge, I'll be your refuge. I thought that was kind of cool. I just saw that like I hadn't seen it like that before. You say that if you dwell in the secret place, you'll abide under my shadow, then you'll abide under my shadow. You say that you are I am your refuge, I'll be your refuge. See, to me, I hadn't seen it like that before, and I thought, that's kind of cool. See, stuff like that, He shows me stuff like that. So speak of your Father the way you want him to be, of a loving, kind, faithful Father. Loving, kind, and faithful. All right. He says, to dwell means to inhabit or to remain in this place. So you're staying in here. You're not just visiting. Ralphina used to say all the time that the people that she would minister to, she goes, honestly, Francis, it's like God is some sort of Santa Claus on Christmas Day, and the kids all line up to go visit him. They go run, jump in his lap, and they dig through his pockets like you would your grandfather to grab a couple of quarters, and once you find $1's worth of quarters, you jump off and leave, go down to the store and buy yourself a bag of potato chips and a Coke. You know, and it's not like that. We're supposed to remain in this place. He who dwells means to inhabit or to remain. It also gives the inference of being married to. Being married to. I thought that was kind of cool. And not just being married to, but being faithfully married, not committing adultery with the world. He who dwells in the secret place, he who inhabits that place, he who is faithfully married to, who doesn't dabble in the world. You don't have 1 foot in the Word and 1 foot in the world serving the Lord, serving the Word, you know, or the world. You're either going to serve God. What did Jesus say? You can't have two masters. You're either going to love one and hate the other, hate one and love the other. What's it going to be? That's what he's saying here when he says dwell. If you dwell in the secret place, you are serving your Father. He is your master. You are living there. You are married there. That is your spouse. He who dwells in the secret place. Now the secret place is a hiding place. Obviously that's what secret means, but it means a place where you would hide. Okay, a place of protection of the Most High. And the Most High is Elyon, L-Y-O-N-E, Elyon. He says, I will say of my Lord, and that's Jehovah. Jehovah is what he's saying there. He will say of my Lord. He is my refuge and my fortress. And a fortress is a castle. It's a place of protection. That's rock. It's like a place of solid safety. All right. He says, my God, in him I will trust. Number 3, verse 3 says, surely he will deliver me. So now we go from confession to deliverance. God is a God of deliverance. He shall deliver us from the snare of the fowler. And that goes back to a lot of what we've been talking about, the traps that the enemy sets. He's setting traps for us. Like Jesus said, he says, woe to you because of offenses. Offenses is a trap. It's a bent sapling or a snare that catches a bird or a rodent. It traps them. It traps an animal. We're the animal that Satan's trying to trap. He says, surely he will deliver us from the snare of the fowler. He will rescue us from that trap. So this is kind of cool in that he's saying, hey, if you fall for the deception and you get trapped, he is faithful to deliver you. When, how, why? If you repent, if you acknowledge what you did wrong, and you bring it before the Father, and you lay at his feet and just say, Father, I am so sorry. I'm messed up here. And it probably isn't a bad idea to go back to that person if you were offended by somebody and caused a problem, caused strife, because when we get offended, we lash out. All right? We take a little problem and we blow it up, and we make it a big problem, something that the Lord didn't want to happen, or something that turned out much worse, and it's causing us problems because we messed up. He says, take that to the Lord. Repent of that thing. He says, and he will deliver you from it. I think that's kind of cool. He delivers us from that trap that we got trapped in because we got offended. I don't know about y'all, but that's pretty good. That's pretty good. See, that's a word you can stand on. You mess up and you say, Father, your word says you would deliver me from the snare of the fowler. Look, Satan's going to come around. He's going to deceive us. We know we're at the end of time, and we know we're under things that are bigger than us. Well, no, they're not bigger than us. Sorry, that was missed. They're bigger than what we're used to, and they're more cunning. And you know, we're liable to fall. We're liable to mess up. We are susceptible to it. We all are. None of us are perfect. None of us walk around like Jesus. None of us are impervious to messing up. So here He's made a way of escape that we will be able to bear it. All right. He says, surely he shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. And what I got here, going back to the snare of the fowler, what he showed me on that was, he says, look at what it says in Ephesians chapter 6. He says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. All right, the wiles are those, it's like Wile E. Coyote, who is always trying to ensnare or trap the road runner. All right, he showed me a link in this verse, which, you know, goes back to the snare or the trap that Satan has tried to trap us with. He goes, and from the perilous pestilence. Perilous is obviously unto death. It's a very dangerous disease, and pestilence is like a plague or a disease. He will deliver us from that thing. And you know, how is that useful? Well, we're being chemtrailed like crazy. You know, they're dropping micro bugs on us. Who the heck knows what they've put into the air? You know, you got these diseases, Morgellons disease, and these microscopic dust nanoparticles that are attaching to us. I'm sure we've all got them, all right? But they have no authority over us, because why? Because he delivers us from the perilous pestilence. And I got to tell you, considering what's probably going to go down in the last days, I'm hoping we're raptured before it goes down, but we don't really know if we're going to be in the mix or in the middle of some stuff and then we go. Don't really know, but here's something we can stand on. He shall deliver us from the perilous pestilence. And it says he will cover us with his feathers. All right, that's protection. So we go from confession, we go to deliverance, and we go to protection. All right, he delivers us when we mess up, and then he also now protects us. All right, he said he shall cover us he shall cover you with his feathers. Remember that verse that Jesus was saying when he was actually chastising the Pharisees, and he said, Jerusalem, O Jerusalem, how I long to gather you as a hen gathers her chicks. And that means to just bring them in and put your arms, to put her wings over them and keep them in her bosom where he can protect them. Right? That's exactly what he's saying there. God wishes to cover us with his feathers, and it says, and under his wings we shall take refuge. All right? And that well, let's go on from there, because that's pretty much self-explanatory. It says, his truth shall be our shield and buckler. All right, now shield that's a large shield that goes in front of you, and it's from head to toe. And that shield was used in war when the two armies would first begin battle, before they clashed. They were both on different sides. And then one army, one military, this is back in the days of David, but, you know, before guns and stuff, when it was bows and arrows, they would have the archers, and they would launch these arrows that would come, and they could take out, you know, a good, you know, probably a fourth or a fifth of the army just by killing them with 10,000 arrows. So they made these huge shields that they could hide behind for the barrage of arrows that came. All right, and then after the barrage of arrows, when the two armies clashed, well, they're not sending those arrows anymore because they got their own men in there. So they had to devise a way of protection against those arrows. Well, Satan's attacks against us are referred to as arrows many times. Fiery darts many times. They're arrows, and we're going to get into that later. He says his truth shall be our shield and buckler. All right, his truth. The truth is faithfulness. the truth. All right, God's faithfulness to us is like this shield that nothing can penetrate, that those arrows can't penetrate. It's a truth. The faithfulness of God. God is so faithful. We hide behind that faithfulness like a shield. All right, and buckler. And a buckler is pretty cool because it's a type of protection or shield that completely surrounds you. It covers you on all sides. You know, that first, the shield he's talking about at first is only in the front, but there's nothing covering your rear. But the buckler is a complete 360 surrounding protection, which I thought was kind of cool. He says, you shall not be afraid. So we go from confession, we go to deliverance, we go to protection, we go to faithfulness. Now we go to fear not, or not to be afraid. Okay? He says, we shall not be afraid of the terror by night. You know, evil lurks at night. He's speaking in the evening specifically because that's when evil comes out. All through Proverbs it talks about evil men and evil women, or people with, not really evil women, it talks about evil men, but you know, look at some of these gangs nowadays. The girls are just as vicious as the boys, but it comes out at night. Why? Because the evil doesn't present itself in the day usually. It's exposed, it's open, but at nighttime it's under the cover of night. It's under the protection of darkness. He says, you shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by noonday. And that sent me to Ephesians chapter 6:16. He says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord, the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Hold on, let me get to it. And he says, he goes all the way down, and in 11, he says, therefore take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the no, where is it? Where is it? Hold on. There it is. Stand therefore, having girded your waist. Anyways, go down to 16. It says, above all, take the shield of faith, with which you will be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked one. Well, hey, isn't that interesting? So he's saying, he just got through telling us about his truth, which is his faithfulness. Then he says, fear not, and the opposite of fear is faith. He says, you shall not be afraid, or will have faith, of the arrow of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by noonday. In Ephesians 6:16, it says, above all, taking the shield of faith, with which you will be able to quench all the fiery darts. What's he talking about? The arrow that flies by noonday. That's the fiery darts. And this is where the connection came in. And I'm going to kind of end here because I'm going to keep it short today. In Ephesians, he's telling us to stand. This is a position of authority for those people who have the attitude of, let me do it. I want to do it. I want to stand up and take authority. Jesus, one of the things that Satan offered to Jesus was authority. If he would throw him, he says, look, if you'll fall down and worship me, and he showed him all the kingdoms. He says, I own them all. Jesus didn't argue with him because he did own them all. Because what Adam did. He said, if you fall down and worship me, I will give you authority. We've talked about this in earlier videos. He never really intended to give him authority. He just wanted Jesus to worship him. He had no intention of giving up authority. But for Jesus, it was an opportunity of winnowing. If Jesus took that, he would have gotten authority without going to the cross. Okay, it was his way of escape. We're always offered these opportunities to take a shortcut to a place that our Father's trying to get us. A shortcut so that we don't have to go through the trial that we need to get through, like the butterfly coming out of the cocoon. That butterfly needs to come out of the cocoon on its own, stretching and flexing and pushing and pulling and tugging and pushing and straining and doing all that to strengthen his muscles so it can come out and fly. Or you cut it out, you make a shortcut for it, and it falls down and it dies. That's the whole purpose of the winnowing process. Which way are we going to take? Are we going to take the easy way out? Are we going to do what God has predestined for us to do to get us to the place he's trying to get us to anyways? It's like preachers who push this fake prosperity message to gain prosperity by raping their congregation and filling their heads full of muckety muck of everything is about money, 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 and never teaching them about responsibility, about repentance, about authority, about identity, about all the maturity things, so they get them to a place where they can actually handle money. And that guy was probably going to be in a position of power anyways, and wealth anyways, because the Bible says God delights in the prosperity of his servants. He just didn't want to get him, he didn't want him to go that way. All right? That was his winnowing. And look, if I love to quote Ralphina, if you don't pass the test, you're going to retake it and retake it and retake it and retake it until you do pass it. So I'm just going to stop right there. He says, we will not be afraid. Okay? Faith is the opposite of fear. Of the terror of night, nor of the arrow that flies by noonday. Because this is a word to stand on for people that don't have the personality of stand up and take authority. They don't have it. And then you've got in the New Testament where Jesus went to the cross to win back authority. What did he say? He said, I give you authority over all the power of the enemy. Whatever you bind on earth, I'll bind in heaven. And I saw this as God actually making a provision for the two types of personalities. For those people that don't have that strong personality of leadership. Look, not everybody's a leader. Have you ever noticed that some people become bosses and they make good bosses because they have great leadership skills, and other people are just great employees? They're just really good at being led, and they'll serve, and that's in their heart to do. But you put them in a position of leadership and they go to pieces. They can't handle that responsibility. Leadership is not for everybody. God made us all different. We have all these different personalities. And this is, you know, the sower sows the word. Jesus quoted out of the Old Testament all the time. He quoted out of Psalms all the time, because the New Testament wasn't even written. You know, his work on the cross hadn't been finished. He says, but now, because of what I've done, or what I'm going to do at the cross, I'm going to give you authority over all the power of the enemy. So here we have a position of authority where we can take charge, we can sow the word, we can stand in faith and believe, and we have the authority over the enemy. And for people that don't have that personality, they still have the word to stand on, because God upholds his word even above his own name. He says, in the day when you cried out, I heard you, and I delivered you from all your distress and troubles. So we're ending on the 5th verse of Psalm 91, and hopefully I'll come back tomorrow and do start from verse 6 and move on. But I think it's a really cool study. I kind of like Psalm 91. I mean, who doesn't? It's my advice that everybody memorize it. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm almost a little embarrassed to tell this story, but so here I am. I'm raised in a home with 3 brothers. So my mother's the only woman in the house, and I have no memory of her ever saying, "Hey, do not forget to put the toilet seat down when you're done." Okay, she never made a big deal about that. She didn't, and then I lived as a bachelor for a long time. So, you know, seat up, seat down. What do I know? And my wife and I, when we actually were getting along really well, she was so sweet to me. She never said a word. She would always just, you know, she never said a word. I don't ever remember her telling me, hey, stop leaving the seat up. She never did that. And I remember having friends whose wives used to like make a big deal about it. Okay, I'm just saying. I never thought much about it. I never made a big deal about it, because she never made a big deal about it. She never said a word to me. So when she is to the place where she's not liking me very much, but we were still together, and I remember her just making this huge deal about it. Now for 20 years she never said a word. Now all of a sudden it is a huge deal, and I'm thinking in my mind, okay, I want to do better, because I don't want to give her ammunition. I'm trying to do everything I can to make this work. You know, I've been a bonehead for 20-something years, that I'm going to fix this thing. So one night I get up in night and I'm, you know, going to the restroom, and I remember thinking to myself, do not forget to put the seat down. 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 Hey, whatever you do not forget to put the seat down. Oh man, I'm hungry. Oh, that dinner was good. There's leftovers. There's leftovers. Oh, yeah. I'm going to go heat some up. I'm going to go heat some up. I go in the kitchen and I heat some up, and I go back to the bedroom, and I just real quietly sit down, and I'm just eating a little bit. And I guess I woke her up, and she gets up and she goes to the bathroom, and I hear her fall in. And she splashed, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, no. She was so mad at me. How did that happen? How did I forget? In seconds, I forgot. And see, that's the mind. Needless to say, I didn't forget much after that. So, Terry Ann, that was the story I wanted to share. Not flattering, I know, but it is what it is. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.